Hello, this is Kev, and this is the YouTube channel. And if you're on Facebook group, Black Men Being Brutally Honest. My name is Kev. I'm one of the habitual line steppers, along with Roger and Donnie, who also have their respective YouTube channels. I don't know. I guess what I'll do right now is I'll start off with a story from childhood. I mean, I went to a Catholic school, for my first through eighth grade years, and we had to deal with a diverse amount of students. I mean, diverse kinds of students. It's like it was never a really big school, but if you wanted better for your child, and it was the '80s, so you also have to think about the mindset and the mentality. You sent them to a school that you could pay for to, avoid riffraffs. But I mean, one thing that people also have to think about is that nobody's perfect. So, anyway, going back to, I went to a Catholic school, and when I was very young, there were these African students that went there. I mean, we've had Asian, white, people like that, but you best believe that 99% of the student body was black. The teachers were mixed. It was kind of, 50-50 black and white. But anyway, so I was playing with these kids one day, and back in the '80s, we were much more savage and mean with our joking. So we was playing, freeze tag shit like that. So we started joking on each other, and I would say they said something about me, and then I said this one insult. Now, anybody growing up in the '80s know that there was one insult that was tied to Africans that American black kids used. I called the kid, and we used it quite frequently among each other. Like, let's keep it real. But these kids were from Africa. They were actually from Africa. I called those kids, and it was like, okay, it was like the twins. Okay, it was a brother. It was an older brother. Then it was okay. The oldest was a brother. I mean, the oldest was a boy. The second was a boy, and then there was two twins. There was a twin set. It was a boy and a girl. I was playing with a boy and a girl, and out my mouth came this African booty scratcher. Yeah. Um, for the first time ever, somebody called the African kids African booty scratchers, and it had to be me. And I learned real quickly that you can say some things to people that can cut deep. The little girl was almost in tears. Yeah, she was about. Yeah, she was almost there. She was more angry though, and the little boy just kind of looked at me like, I never ever expected that to come from you, Kevin. Went and told his brothers. His brothers didn't want to fight. They just treated me like I was one of them dumb assholes, who just love to say dumb shit. And you know what? And then as a child, I felt remorse and empathy for like the first time ever because I really, really, really offended somebody, and it was mean. I learned that it was mean, and I never used it again after that. I never called anybody an African booty scratcher after that. As I grew up, and started to study more into the legacy of my city, Montgomery, Alabama, which is, the civil rights movement, the epicenter for the civil rights movement. I learned that what you say can affect people, really, in everything that happened. in the era of civil rights, one thing that stuck out was insults. The N word, the ultimate insult to a black person from a non-person of color, and let's just keep it real, Caucasian people. We don't want to hear that the N word come out of anybody's mouth non-black. So it was kind of like I learned that something like I learned that words can hurt. Now, now that that's out the way, let's get to the other part of the conversation, because that was a time where I had said something and I was deeply apologetic for it. Now, that was the 80s. So when and I know how some of us feel about Africans and everything. Some of us don't like Africans. Some of us think Africans don't like us. And I mean, and then I really wish that we could bring it together. But I mean, it is what it is. I always say that black people have a problem with separation. Separating each other at like the most subatomic of levels. Like, I believe that if we could separate each other on feet size, we would. But that would be a little bit too ridiculous. But anyway, that was my first lesson in offending someone. How someone could be offensive and hurtful. And here's the other part. Not everything is offensive and hurtful out there, people. Yeah. I know to some people that it is offensive to even say that you are a black man being brutally honest. Honestly, of all the people on YouTube, Facebook, social media who say they represent black men, who do they truly represent black men, or do they represent the black man that they are? I knew coming onto a platform like YouTube that my message wasn't going to be for everyone. And that's okay. Because everybody's message ain't for everybody. But I deal in what's hard to swallow. I don't try to offend anyone. I just ask certain questions. Because what I try to do is I try to relate to the things that I see on social media. And sometimes those questions get answered, sometimes those questions don't get answered. But the last thing that I would deliberately, and this operative word, deliberately, try to do is offend someone. And from what I can see, I do. I mean, and I got almost 200 videos. I can't go back and look at everyone and say, hey, you know what? I said this kind of shitty, blah blah blah. But here's what we kind of do sometimes. We will say all these great things, and one bad thing, or well, I wouldn't even say bad thing. I would say one thing will slip out of your mouth that someone may be slightly ill about. But due to the level of sensitivity, because you said that one thing, depending on what that one thing is, that's what you're all about to that person. And you know what? I can see that I do offend some people. It's a slow growth thing. When you make a platform for black men, you have to sell black men on something. It just is what it is. It's not an excuse. When black women have a message, a positive message, or a strong message, black women usually follow suit. No questions asked. Which I do acknowledge that that is an issue with black men. Sometimes I think that sometimes black men are afraid to be offensive to someone, but I can clearly see that I've offended some people, and that's okay. That's cool. I've been offending people for 2 years, and it's very easy. It is very easy. I've been offensive in periods of time in my life, and it's never ever really deliberate unless you start like messing with me, and then I mess with you back. Then I'm deliberately being offensive. Then, but being brutally honest can be offensive. It depends on who you're talking to. You know, which is the reason why I like talking to people who can handle a conversation about sensitive topics. Now I'm not talking about the one black men across social media always get accused of. I'm not talking about those topics like hair weave and makeup. I mean for real though, if I go outside looking like shit, I expect all of my true friends to tell me, dude, you look like shit. It might be a couple of moments where I might get a little mad because I thought I stepped out the house beautiful. It's like what? But then sometimes maybe that person has a point. I mean, of course, everybody is allowed to use adult discretion in any situation. But I mean, I'm gonna always like. I would say this. I would never be like a lot of other YouTubers and try to use a cookie cutter formula. The cookie cutter formula of let's start an argument, yes, yell at each other for about 10 minutes, which, has happened on our broadcast. I mean, what? I mean, they come to places like this, when you hear black men, at first, initially, some people are like, oh, yeah, we're about to save, they're about to save the black community. All right, black men being brutally honest, let's go after Donald Trump. And it's like, yeah, it's like we can go after Trump if you want us to, but still, I got a video that I made about Donald Trump that got 9 views. People don't really care about that kind of thing. People don't care to see you go at a quote unquote oppressive system. They want you to sit there with them and talk about it. Talk about them. Don't talk about our problems. That's why a lot of people like. That's why a lot of people don't. A lot of people can't process what we say because they think that once you say something about specifically about black, African American, melanated, ebony, whatever label you want to put on us, whenever you say something about it and it's negative, they think you're being anti-black. Therefore, you're a black person offending black people. It's like, why would you get mad at something that is an established fact? And I know a lot of people, they're getting tired of people using the single mother rate in the black community. And I can admit it's a beaten topic, but if it has a negative impact, like other things, then maybe it is something that needs to be discussed. I know a lot of people are looking for resolution, but go look at some of the bigger YouTube channels. Are they providing resolution? Because the one thing I'm getting at is you can't sit up there and super expect it from me, but you go to everybody else for fuckery. But at the same time, my intention was never fuckery. It never was. Black male fuckery or black female fuckery. And let's change the operative word. Let's drop the operative word, black. Let's drop that word for a second. Male fuckery and female fuckery. Sometimes people get so offended they want you to talk about other groups in our community. So, and like I said in probably one of my last videos, I said that the first word in this YouTube channel is black. And I will say it repeatedly over and over again. That means that you have the answer as to where my concerns are. You can sit there and talk about other groups all day, all night. But once you're done talking, what tangible difference has it made with us? Yeah, that stuff is sometimes fun to talk about. But having evidence in a having the evidence that I've gathered from the platform that I created, I will say this. Whenever that non-black element shows up, we do anything but. You can think about what's after but. I mean, I can remember the couple times people came in there trashing the men because, of course, everybody assumes that when you name something black men, that everything that you say on the platform you can direct toward black men. I will never, ever, ever forget the time a white man showed up in the group and started dropping N bombs. I was like, wow, let me see how this turns out. Now, the first response would be for them. You would think it would be to go after the offender, the racist Caucasian man who decides to drop the N bomb, in his comments. No, that was not the case. Here's the top things that people did in the group when that happened. The tippy top thing was blame the admin. Myself and Donnie specifically. Because we let a white man in the group. Okay, let me state the title of the group. Black men being brutally honest with everyone. If I made it an all black group, guess what people would say, and guess what people have said? Oh, y'all want to be brutally honest with everybody but white people. Then when a white person shows up, everybody runs like little scared chickens. They run to the admin, who they've been like just cursing out day in and day out. I mean, like, isn't that funny how that works out? I will say this to the credit of some of the members. There were 3 members that went at him actually, with all kinds of strength, just tearing him up, roasting him. Everyone else wanted to attack the admin. And guess what us admin were saying before we booted the racist guy from the group? We were saying, go after him. Go tear him up for coming in our place and thinking he could act like that. You know what some of those cowards did? They made posts about us. They made chops with our faces on it on suspect pictures. It's like they want us to be the answer to this white supremacy. And yes, white supremacy does exist. But here's the thing. Do you truly want to go after it? Do you truly want to start a war with it? Or do you want to cry to the people that you have been just shitting on? Now, I'm just saying that, everybody's going to probably, like, a lot of people probably dismiss this as social media is not real. I'm like, but it's damn sure a reflection. Oh, yeah, a lot of people left the group, too, because of that. Like I said, they wouldn't blame a Caucasian man for being racist. They blamed us for letting that man in the group. Sometimes I did things in that group as experiments, just to see how people would react. I didn't know the man was racist. The guy is a notorious Facebook troll, from what I learned about him, and he did stuff like that all the time. And he was accepted by quite a few black people. One of which was a black girl that attacked the admin of the group quite often, saying that we were coons and sellouts. Oh, especially me. They couldn't stand me. Oh my God. Why don't you ask some of these old bigger mouthy YouTubers out there about me? You'll know whenever they bring up the name black men being brutally honest, and they've done it several times. They just call me all like just for giving black men a platform. I'm like, the fuck? Now, seriously, how many black men give a platform for black men to speak and they don't immediately try to be king of it? Think about all the other black male platforms. There's always one black male trying to stand up at the top of it with a big old imaginary scepter, a crown, a cape. Yeah, and as long as you don't cross that man, you'll be okay. I never wanted to come off like that. I wanted to come off as a place where a diverse opinion, black men with diverse opinions could come to and speak their minds and be brutally honest. There would be disagreements. And also, okay, let's talk about what a lot of people do say is a platform to bash black women. No, it is not or has ever been that. Here's one thing that you have to understand. Sometimes when certain black women make themselves a part of a conversation, they have a tendency to say some things that, yes, do make sense, but sometimes they say things that don't make sense. They may get called on it by a sensible guy, or they may get called on it by a jackass, which happens quite often. But for males and females, you put yourself at risk when you participate in these various panels. You can't just say something stupid and be like, I should get away with it because such and such. It's because I'm a black man, because I'm a black woman. And if you disagree with it, I am going to be offended with you. So that's about the most extreme severity of it. And it gets made into a mountain when it's simply a molehill. So that's where that stigma came from. Some people are just too proud to be disagreed with. And a lot of times they do base that on gender. And that's just fact, reality. I'll tell you what is truly offensive. I'll tell you what it is from my personal standpoint. When you try to sun me behind the scenes, and then I don't put up with that shit, or my crew doesn't put up with it, and then you got to go on a lying tour across YouTube, lying tour, like not lying, like not like the Lion King. I'm talking about lying as in fibbing, as in being full of shit. Because what happens when you cross certain people, you know what's coming. Some people just respond to that kind of thing. It's also offensive, truly offensive, when you respond to someone's insult and they say you're being sensitive. I'm like, get the fuck out of here, man. You asked for it. Shut up. Dude just started crying about you responding to them. He responded. How dare he? And I know I know that, I do have a tendency to say some things that are offensive to people. Go check out my YouTube video, Grown Ass Pale Devil punches little girl in the face. Punches little black girl in the face. That was the video I received the most comments ever. And it was by enraged Caucasian people. Yep. Some of you guys would classify that as white supremacy. But where were black people on this? Where were they when they were these all these little racist little comments were coming in? See, that's exactly what I'm talking about right there. Yeah, I got smug with a lot of them because that's what I do. I had to learn not to try to enlist help or expect people to come help me when I'm in a situation, when I'm in a battle. You can come help me if you want to, but don't come to me talking about all this black unity and pro-black if you can't show up for when it really matters. Shoot, I had fun with that. I had fun getting smoked with them folks. Shoot, yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, they do get offended. They yeah, they do get offended when you start talking about racism or calling them on their racist bullshit. I love offending those people because, hey, you know what? That shows me that the issue was still with them. As much as they say, oh, there's no racism in America. Yeah, there's very much racism in America. You see it in these viral videos of these college kids with these white dudes talking about what they want to do to N-words. These little white girls talking about N-word this, N-word that. There have been a few viral videos like that. But I see Caucasian people on social media getting offended because people are talking about racism. And then these people have the audacity they have the audacity to say that you're the one that's being a victim, that you're the one that's being sensitive. There is nothing more amazingly stupid than watching a white person complain about black people talking about racism on social media. It is the funniest thing ever. Cause I said something real smug the other day to one of them. I said, y'all sitting up here acting like your grandparents didn't throw tomatoes at black kids simply trying to walk to school. Get the fuck out of here. Oh, that got them mad. But see, how many black people would have actually cared to know that? To know that I do say that. No, a lot of people that know me on social media know me by that Facebook group. They want to call me a coon, a sellout. I have an agenda against black women. Shut up. Ooh, for them guys. Oh, man. It's like I feel so bad for black men when I see a grown man come on YouTube and make a broadcast policing what other black men say. Now, you may think, hey, Kev, aren't you policing what they say? No. I'm responding. You dumb nigga. Everybody that makes themselves a part of a conversation, like I said earlier, puts themselves at risk. If you say something stupid, that's what's going to happen. You can't just say something stupid and say, hey, you know what, I expect everybody else to be stupid, so they're going to get away with it. Yeah, some of y'all been talking about simping lately. I mean, that's something else that ain't new. It ain't new like gay people. Gay people aren't new. There's always been gay people. Certain terms aren't new. Racism was never new in America. That's why I don't understand why all the like the social justice crusades in 2019, because these are problems that we've been solved throughout time. And then they come back up like, no, that's not good enough. Let's get mad some more about it. There's always been there's always been a diverse set of opinions. There's always been problems that existed as like this, and we worked them out at one point or another. Always. But now we just want to act like it's a problem today because we want people to stay mad. People are probably offended by that in Kev We Trust they see on their screen. Don't give a damn. Say it again. In Kev We Trust. Mm, mm, mm. So, well, that's about all that I got for right now. For all of you out there, thanks for listening momentarily. Um, yeah, I know, my growth is slow, but that's cool. That's cool. My growth happens when my growth happens. It's like I gain a few, I lose a few every week. That's just how it is. I know I offend some people. If you get offended by one thing, though, I'll just say this: you don't belong here. I don't deliberately try to offend anyone, but if you're going to be offended, be offended. Go ahead. You know, I pretty much established what I felt when I felt like I truly offended someone, and when I felt like I was just plain old being brutally honest. So there you go. Um, hmm. Oh yeah, I was talking about the term simping. There's this Boys to Men song called "Simping Ain't Easy." That term's been around forever. And yes, the way they explain it, it is simping. Why are people so hot when you hear the word now? Now, it's not standing up for women because, if you stand up for a woman who deserves it, then, that's not simping. If you love women, if you love black women, it's not simping. But if a woman, makes herself a part of a conversation, she says some dumb shit, and she's get penalized for it, there's no need for you to fly in on a cape and try to save her. We understand there's offensive, and then there's that fake ass cape and shit that some of y'all try to pull. So, I don't know, I'll make another broadcast about that. But anyway, the moral to the story is you shouldn't offend anyone, or you shouldn't try to offend anyone. Learn what offends people and understand this. At the end of the day, everyone is offended by everything. Literally. Like, share, subscribe, and Kev We Trust. Goodbye.